I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, get cold. You know we come to the sports talk, and what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like a leaders, but Nike just do it. Then 4 on the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs. You know what's going on. Man, now we're out the dark, no LA. We the big spark. No 4 minutes, won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beats. We coming live off 3 speaks. Go.
Make sure you tune in to Man Hour After Dark.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy, Brandon Combs, here all by myself right now. Michael Buckheister is stuck on some babysitting duties right now. His wife having a night out. So for right now, you just got me until he can join me, or until Wyatt gets back from whatever he is out doing. I don't know what you can be out doing when you're 10 years old, but it is what it is. So you guys got me for a little bit. Hop into that comment section. Keep me going. I'm going to hop in and just start talking some baseball with you guys. Hopefully you guys have seen it by now. But look, I saw what was going on with the MLB first and second teams. And I didn't have a whole lot of issues with what was going on there. I didn't have a whole lot of issues with the selections. There are a couple spots where I could have made a case for somebody else, but not a whole lot. So what do we have here? Let's see. Let's go through it real quick. Sorry about that. So we had, at catcher, we had Salvador Perez made the first team. Now, I don't have a problem with this at all. Salvador Perez has been the epitome of a consistent catcher throughout the course of his career, especially with over the last 2 years or so since he's come back from that injury. But the guy can just flat out hit, and whether or not he stays a catcher or moves over to first base, moves over to DH, Mike Buckheister, I see you over here. Mike Buckheister says, "I miss you. I miss you too, sir." A lot easier talking with somebody else who is talking back, but I'm gonna get through this for sure. But no, so Salvador Perez can just flat out hit the ball, and he is a very good catcher. He calls a great game, does all the things that you want your catcher to do. So I don't know if you keep him there, but having Salvador Perez as your catcher right now makes a lot of sense, especially since the second team catcher was JT Realmuto. Salvi hit, I believe it was 333 this year with 11 home runs, and JT Realmuto only hit like 260 something. So I have no problems with him there. At first base, we had Freddie Freeman and Jose Abreu. Now, this is the first one that I looked at, and I was like, man, I could kind of make a case for Jose Abreu over Freddie Freeman. And I know a lot of you out there, especially, Professor, if you're out there listening, I am absolutely positive that you're screaming at me right now. But Jose Abreu had a very solid year. He hit 317 with 19 home runs. That was more home runs than Freddie Freeman had. Freeman had 13. Freeman did strike out a little bit less. I mean, Jose Abreu is just a straight power hitter, but for a straight power hitter to hit 317 it is absolutely phenomenal. He had more hits than Freddie did, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had more RBIs than Freddie did as well. So I could have made a case for Jose Abreu, but I don't hate the pick there at first base. Now, when you look at first baseman, it's always traditionally been a power hitting position, and then a defensive position. You really want your guy to be able to dig balls out. You really want your guy to play very good defense. Both of these guys do that. So I don't think it's a strictly, just one's better than the other one at defense, but I do think that you could possibly make a case for Jose Abreu here, as opposed to Freddie Freeman. And vote is opened up over at on the YouTube page. So if you have not headed out to the YouTube page, definitely check it out here. The Man Hour YouTube page. We have a poll going on. Who is better looking, Combs or Buck? I'm going to give you one guess on who put that one up there. And so far right now we have one vote for Michael Buckheister, and it comes from Michael Buckheister. So moving on with our all MLB team here at second base. No surprise here. You had DJ LeMahieu, had an outstanding season. And his counterpart on the second team here is Brandon Lowe, who actually just got traded to the Texas Rangers today. That is a huge trade for the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers are making some moves. They got Dunning from the White Sox in trade for Lance Lynn, which I thought was a great trade for them. You trade a guy who's been consistently inconsistent throughout his career, and you get a kid who is up and coming, and from what they say is going to be a number 1 or number 2 starter here in the next 2 to 3 years. So I really thought that they won that trade against the White Sox, and now they add Brandon Lowe, who really is a utility infielder but can play first base. The Texas Rangers definitely need a first baseman. So that was a good pickup for them. And Brandon Lowe gets the nod on the second team at second base. At shortstop, again, no surprise. Fernando Tatis Jr. of the Padres, phenomenal season. That kid can just flat out ball. He is one of the best shortstops in the game. He is so much fun to watch. Whether he's on offense, whether he's on defense, he is just a blast to watch play the game of baseball. I really love players who play with pride and with passion, and he is just a ball of passion at shortstop. I mean, the kid can just flat out play. He can hit, and he's nothing but a leader on that team, and you've already seen that already in his young career. That Padres team is going to be a force over the next 5 or 6 years, which is why the Los Angeles Dodgers are still looking to bulk up and are going after a few names. I heard them rumored to be in on the Trevor Bauer sweepstakes, and I don't know about you guys, but imagine Trevor Bauer in a rotation that was as dominant as that rotation was, and they're getting back David Price, who opted out this past season. That would be absolutely insane. And that just shows you how much respect and how much awareness that Dodgers organization has for the San Diego Padres. They know they're coming, and they're not looking to relinquish hold of that NL West just yet. At their base, Manny Machado of the Padres, no surprise there. Second team is Jose Ramirez. This was one that I at first glance, I was like, man, Jose Ramirez had a really good season. But then I think because Fernando Tatis was so good, that people kind of overlooked what Manny Machado did. Manny Machado was really, really solid this year, and had just as good of a season as his partner over there at shortstop did. Machado hit 304, 16 home runs, 37 strikeouts, 26 walks, 47 RBIs, 68 hits, 44 runs scored, and 224 at-bats in 60 games. That was a really quiet, good season. Nobody really paid attention. I shouldn't say nobody paid attention, because everybody was paying attention to the Padres, but nobody was really talking about Manny Machado as much as they were Fernando Tatis this year. And I think that's kind of what Manny Machado needed in order to have the season that he had. It was a very good, quiet season for Manny Machado. So him getting the nod there is no... what does he say here? Machado is better. It's it's like saying what poop looks. Get the hell out of here, Michael Buckheister. But no, Manny Machado had a quiet, good season, and so I had no problem with him there over Ramirez, because Ramirez also had a very good season, but just not quite as good as what Manny Machado had. And then in the outfield, we have Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, and Juan Soto. I really tried to make a case to, I mean, you can't go against Betts and Soto. I mean, both of those guys were just MVP caliber, and they were both very good in the outfield. They're both very good on offense. Both of those guys for the next, the next 10 years are going to be staples in their organizations, and they're going to be the faces of this young movement moving forward. And they're very good. I did take exception a little bit to Mike Trout. I think Mike Trout, who missed some time, and I know he's Mike Trout, and people are going to come at me and say, how can you say Mike Trout shouldn't be on the first MLB team? Blah, 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 blah. I look at a guy like Michael Conforto, who had a very good year, played just as many games as Mike Trout. He hit 322, whereas Mike Trout hit 281. He did have less home runs than Mike Trout, but he also, he had more hits than Mike Trout by 9. He had 9 more hits than Mike Trout. He had more at-bats than Mike Trout. So the fact that his average was higher than Mike Trout with more at-bats, I could have made a case for him over Mike Trout. I think Mike Trout just gets in there because, he's Mike Trout. So when you start talking about, MVP, Mike Trout's name is always in there. I remember at the beginning of the year, the people were like, it's going to be a short season. Is Mike Trout still going to win the MVP? And he was hurt. He wasn't even playing. But, when your name is Mike Trout, you get some favorable calls. I could have made a case for Michael Conforto over him, but that's what MLB decided to do. Your starting pitchers, really, there's no complaint there. Shane Bieber, Trevor Bauer, Yu Darvish, Max Fried, Jacob deGrom are your starters. Liam Hendricks and Nick Anderson are your relief pitchers. Devin Williams, I think, got snubbed in that one. Devin Williams, all season long only gave up 1 earned run. I know Hendricks and Anderson both combined to only give up 6 earned runs. But Devin Williams of the Brewers had a really good season for them. And while I'll never shed any tears for any Brewers players, he definitely had a good season, and you could certainly make a case for him probably over Nick Anderson. But again, the Rays went to the World Series. They were the best team in the American League the entire season. So I get what MLB was doing there. So all right. So we are going to step away here for a quick moment. Hopefully one of these guys jumps on soon so I can stop talking by myself. But when we come back, we will continue to chat. Hit me up in the chat line. Let me know what you guys want to talk about, what you guys want to hear, and we will go at it here in just a moment. So give me about 90 seconds, and we will be back.
I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, get calm. We come to the sports talking what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that that's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Then 4 on the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and calls. You know what's going on. Man, now we're after dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4 minutes, won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beats. We coming live off through your speakers, go.
Make sure you tune in to Man Hour After Dark on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. In the Big X, 9 a.m. on Saturday. Based out of Jeffersonville, Indiana. But we all over Louisville. Check us out.
All right, guys, we are back. Got some comments rolling in, so we'll definitely get to those here in just a moment. But I just want to make sure, you guys check us out on the YouTube page. We've got some clips going on there, some Man Hour clips. Check out the new one we're talking about where Buck is going off about Lamar Jackson is trash. I don't know what he's doing with that take. But, look, Lamar Jackson is not proving him wrong. And so for that, I got to give kudos to Buck because he called it, and so far it is going on. And you can't really argue against it right now. So Mike Buck says, Mike Trout best make it. Look, I get it, but sometimes I think that people fall victim to the name. And just because his name is Mike Trout, you put him up there when, Conforto hit 322 this year, and Mike Trout hit 280. And so that's a big disparity and a big difference. So I just thought that you could, put Conforto, at least give him a thought maybe. And I don't know, I would have voted for him. Max Fried is going to be a beast, Adam Barber. You are absolutely 110% correct there. Max Fried and the Atlanta Braves, that Atlanta Braves pitching staff is going to be very good. So let's talk about the Braves for a few minutes, Adam. I don't know if you're a Braves fan or not, or if you just wanted to talk about Max Fried, but that pitching staff is very good. And if they don't retain Travis d'Arnaud, I would think that going out and getting JT Realmuto would be at the top of their list. Also a back-end starter, and maybe a little bit more relief pitching, but a back-end starter and then a catcher, man, to lead that pitching staff is exactly where I would go if I'm the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are a very, very good team, a very young team. Adam Barber says, I'm a diehard Braves fan. So Professor Leonard would be a good guy to chime in on this. If you're listening, Professor, feel free to chime in. I know you're listening a lot. So, but no, look, the Atlanta Braves have a very good young roster. They've got a very good young lineup. As you can see from my backdrop, I am not an Atlanta Braves fan. I am a Chicago Cubs fan. But I'm a baseball guy, man. I just love the game. So we have Travis for one more year. Did they tender him? I thought he was a free agent for some reason. So let me ask you a question then, Adam. Would you still like to go see the Braves go out and add Realmuto, and then I guess maybe either keep d'Arnaud as your backup or trade d'Arnaud? Because to me, Realmuto on the Braves is very interesting. If you could go out and get Realmuto for the next 4 or 5 years, not only does that solidify your lineup, but it also brings you a very good defensive catcher, a very good catcher who can handle a pitching staff. And I like JT Realmuto on the Braves. It was actually something that Professor Leonard had brought up to us when we were talking about our top 5 free agents, which to me Realmuto tops that list right now. So if you're a Braves fan right now, Adam, do you want to see JT Realmuto? Do you want to see Trevor Bauer? Adam says yes, JT is the best catcher in baseball. Man, I don't know about that. There's a kid in Chicago who you could really lay claim, or at least make an argument. I'll argue with you all day long that I want Wilson Contreras as my backstop. His arm is second to none. He has an absolute cannon behind the plate. I love Wilson Contreras, and not just as a Cubs fan, but as a baseball fan. I love watching a kid play. He plays with passion. He can hit with the best of them. He's a better hitter than JT Realmuto is. JT Realmuto is better at framing a baseball. That's still something that Wilson is working on and trying to get control of. But Wilson can call a game, man. And Wilson, you can't take too big of a lead off of Wilson, let alone steal on him. The guy has thrown out more runners at first base than I've ever seen. So I would, Mike Soroka, Max Fried, Ian Anderson, Smiley, and Morton. That staff is scary. It is very scary. But imagine replacing Drew Smiley with Trevor Bauer. I brought that up earlier that you can make Smiley your sixth man, your long man out of the bullpen, and add in Trevor Bauer. The Braves have the money to do it. Their window to win is open. They are a very good young team. Them and the Braves, or them and the Padres, would be a lot of fun to watch in an NLCS in a best of 7. I was rooting for that so hard this past season. I would have loved to have seen the Braves versus the Padres, and then the Braves or the Padres versus the Rays in the World Series. I really like those young solid teams. The Cubs are another one. The Cubs offense it goes in and out. Like when it's hot, it's really hot. Like at the beginning of this 60 game season, the Cubs looked unstoppable. Their pitching was really good. Their offense was really good. And then just like the last couple of years, they just stopped hitting. And so, but for the Braves and the Padres, that's not the case. Those kids can flat out play, and they're not looking to subtract; they're looking to add. Manauer says, "Who cares about framing the baseball? You want computers to ump the game." I do. I don't say ump the game. I want computers to call balls and strikes. But right now, the fact of the matter is that they don't. So right now, you do care about framing the baseball. I don't want to see, computerized umps all the way around because I think it would take too long. But a computerized strike zone, I mean, you see it every game that you watch. I mean, I haven't seen a broadcast anymore that does not have the automated K zone right up on the screen as you're watching the game. And if you can do that as you're watching the game, you can implement that as a strike zone because it's automatic. It calls the ball and the strike right then and there. So the problem is that you can't just do it for all calls. So you can't just have automated umps all the way around. But for balls and strikes, you absolutely can. I don't like the way that the umpires change games behind the plate. It changes the approach of the hitter. In cases where you have a wide strike zone, if I'm sitting at the plate and I'm up 2-0, and you call a strike that's about 6 inches outside, the very next pitch is going to be a slider outside, and I have to swing at it because you're calling that pitch a strike, and that means on strike on the 2-2 count, they're going to try to set up out there again, and I have to protect. So you just changed the entire at-bat because you made a bad call. And in Major League Baseball, with the money that Major League Baseball makes, with the money that they do, there is nothing that tells me that MLB couldn't make that happen. If in tennis we can come down to a millimeter of a ball being inbounds or out of bounds, there is no reason why Major League Baseball can't get an automated strike zone, and it would make the game so much better because everybody would have the same strike zone. You don't have to alter for which ump is behind the plate. You don't have to alter for him widening or shortening his strike zone. Pitchers won't get pinched, and hitters won't have to swing at balls that are outside of the zone, and it just makes it a better game. And I guarantee you, people are against it right now. All those old fuddy-duddies who are just like, look, I'm a purist. I just love the game. Look, I'm a purist too. I love this game through and through. There is nothing that I like more than baseball. I just don't. Like, baseball is my passion. I love this game with every bit of my heart. But if you tell me that a consistent strike zone would not benefit the game, then you just don't know the game. Because a consistent strike zone would absolutely make it better for pitchers, and it would make it better for hitters. So that's where I'm at with the automated strike zones. There are a few changes I would make or keep them in the same term of rules. There are a few rules they put in last year that I like, but also a few others I would change. I agree. I did not think that I would like the runner on second in extra innings, but I gotta be honest with you, if I'm an owner, I like that. I like that we're not going to go 17 innings. I like the fact that we can make games, shorter in innings and find a winner that way. Another one that I was okay with was the 7-inning doubleheader, man. Look, I think that you can shorten the schedule because I do think that 162 games, even though I'll watch all 162, actually I probably watch about 400 and something games a year because I don't just watch the Cubs. But you could shorten the season and schedule double headers if you're going to make them 7 innings, and I think that is awesome for the game. But the one that I hated, and I absolutely hate it, and I think it was the worst rule that has ever been implemented. I think it was the worst rule baseball has ever even thought of, and that is making a relief pitcher pitch to 3 hitters. That is just dumb. You take the chess match out of the game. You take the sport. You take the back and forth. You take the matchmaking out of the game. There's no reason why I can't bring in a guy to face a left-handed hitter, and then the next guy is a righty, but righties hit 200 points better against him than lefties. There's no reason why I should have to leave him in the game. That's why I have 11 relief pitchers in my bullpen. So I didn't like that rule, but I did like the rule, the other 2 rules that we talked about. Adam Barber, it's sad more people don't understand the art of baseball. It is. I mean, look, Mike LeBlanc chimes in, baseball season is boring. Look, I get it. Like, I understand that some people just don't like it. But it was best said way back in the day by Yogi Berra. Baseball is a smart person's sport, and it's okay if you don't get that. Baseball is a very strategic game. Baseball is a game of chess. And people will say chess is boring. I enjoy playing chess. So it definitely takes, a certain mentality to go ahead and love the game and want to sit there and watch it for 3 hours, and that's fine. But to me, baseball's like football. On opening day, just like I am every Sunday, on opening day, I'm watching a game at noon, a game at 3, a game at 6, and a game at 9. Just like I'm doing on Sundays for NFL football. And people say baseball's too long. The average baseball game this past season is actually shorter than the average football game this season. So to sit there and say it's too long, I mean, you're wrong because it's actually shorter than football. Is football more action-packed? Maybe. But the actual time of action in baseball is longer than the actual time of action in football. So I just think it's that people don't like the game or don't understand the game. People that want automatic strike zone are the same people that couldn't hit a ball off a tee and need to try tennis. You suck. Hoffy, always away with words, man. But I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Want to know what else is dumb? $226 million. Well, you know who's not saying that $226 million is dumb? The players making the $226 million. And $226 million nowadays is half of what some of these really good players are going to make. So, it's definitely one of those, give and take relationships. I love the game. I will watch a game 162 days a season. I will watch the game 3 times 162 games a season. That's just me. That's who I am. So that's what I do. So I'm going to go ahead and take another quick break, and at the end of it, it does look like Wyatt is ready. So we will bring Wyatt to the show, and we will talk some UFC. So give me a few minutes, and we will be right back.
I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, get calm. You know, come on to this sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Then 4 on the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, get calm. You know what's going on. Man, now we're after dark, no LA. We the big spark. No 4 minutes, won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beats. We coming live off 3 speaks. Go.
Make sure you tune in to Man Hour After Dark on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. In the Big X, 9 a.m. on Saturday. Based out of Jeffersonville, Indiana, but we all over Louisville. Check us out.
All right, guys. Thrive Fantasy. If you have not signed up for Thrive Fantasy yet, make sure that you go onto Thrive Fantasy on your phones, whether it's whether you have an iPhone, whether you have a Android, whatever the case is. Go into your app store and check out Thrive Fantasy, or online at thrivefantasy.com. Use promo code MANHOUR. That's Thrive Fantasy with promo code MANHOUR. They will match up your deposit up to $50. Promo code MANHOUR. And I'll tell you guys, I signed up for this, and sometimes I forget when I get into games. And so I got into a game last week. I put in my picks and all that stuff, and then I completely forgot that I got into it. So I went to go put a bet on tonight's game, and I won $175 last week, and I didn't even know it until I logged back into the app. So that was a nice little surprise when I got there today. But without further ado, let's welcome on our boy Wyatt. Wyatt, what is going on, buddy?
Nothing much, just listening to what I think might be next week's What The. Did you getting on the app and realizing you had $175 sitting there for you?
Yeah, I didn't even, I looked at the phone, I went, huh? And then, my girlfriend looked at me and she goes, what? I said, I won last week. She's like, what'd you win? Like a couple thousand? I was like, no, just $175. And she's like, oh, that's it? And I'm like, it's $175 more than what we had. I mean, so.
But it's like the old saying, like finding $20 in your pocket. Yours was just 175. So
yeah. So Wyatt, I spent the first half of the show talking about a bunch of baseball stuff. So MLB announced the all MLB first and second teams yesterday, and then we started getting into talking about different players and where they should land. We talked a little bit about the Braves, and then the question got brought up to me about rule changes and how I felt about certain rules that they implemented this last season. Do you watch much baseball? Are you an MLB guy?
I am a decent MLB guy, and I know when I turn this hat around, I'm gonna be called a bandwagon. Okay, it's funny actually. I got the repping the team.
Atta boy.
Okay, we agree on that. A lot of people question you, like, how did you end up a Green Bay and a Chicago Cubs fan? I have no clue, honest. I had a buddy in second grade, and he brought in a Cubs book that his dad had, and it had Sammy Sosa in it and all those guys, and so just kind of went off what he was liking, and started watching the Cubs games, and I fell in love with Alfonso Soriano. In fact, up in my closet somewhere, I don't know where it is, it's a jersey that's probably 20 sizes too small now, but I have a little first grade Wyatt Alfonso Soriano jersey that I adored Alfonso. He was awesome. My buddies all used to get me every year for my birthday. They would get me the next year's Topps Alfonso Soriano card for him. So it sucks because being like I'm sure you know this as well. Being a Cubs fan, you lose all your life. It's just terrible. Like, everything's horrible, and then all of a sudden you win the World Series. So you deal with this loss, and then all of a sudden you've dealt with this loss and you've coped with it, and then all of a sudden you're a bandwagon now. It's like no, then you gotta plead your case every single time you talk to anybody. Like, no, I swear I've been a fan for this long,
See,
but yeah, it's funny.
Anybody who ever calls me a bandwagon, man, I just break out the video of when they won the World Series, And I got caught on video right after the final out. I fell to my knees and fell to the floor, and I was like a sobbing baby, man.
You crying?
Oh, man, because, for me, I became a Cubs fan because of my grandfather. My grandfather, just brought me up on the Cubs, and then all my uncles and everybody. So we're a big Cubs family.
Yeah.
And
well, you're from Chicago, so you're right there with them.
So, and then my grandfather passed away while I was in high school and stuff, and he never really got to see them win. So for me, it was just the emotions of everybody who didn't get to see them win. And I mean,
no, I know
obviously
what you're
for
saying.
me, I was happy too, but
yeah, no, I saw all the trending stuff where people were going to like their loved ones' graves and stuff, and had the old radio broke out, and were listening to the game on the radio and stuff. I saw that stuff. It was really cool, and it was cool to see the community go together. I really enjoyed the I'm sure you were there. I couldn't because it's 5 hours away, and at the time I didn't have a car. I was, it's 8th grade, I think, 7th or 8th grade.
Yep.
But I'm sure you remember the parade. Were you at the parade after?
So I was living in Vermont at the time, right? So I had funny story. I had a buddy of mine who deals in tickets. So he's gone to Super Bowls and all sorts of stuff. And he goes, "Hey, look, I got tickets for games 3, 4, and 5. Do you want to go?" And I said, "You know what? I really, really do." So I started planning the trip. And my 8-year-old now was only 4 or 5 at the time, and he was starting hockey, and I told him I would coach his team if he played. And so he played just because he wanted me to coach the team. Our first practice was the week of games 3, 4, and 5, and it was actually the day of game 4. So I actually had to not go on the trip because I couldn't disappoint. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
I get it as well. Dad comes first. Dad comes first. 100%.
Yeah. So I didn't get to go to the games, which they lost 3 and 4, then won 5, 6, and 7. But I knew what was. You know what I mean? Like as a Cubs fan, growing up here and being at Wrigley all the time, man, you knew what everybody was feeling. I could feel the energy around Wrigley Field just watching it on TV, and what the fans were going through. So
100%. That's what it's actually funny because you mentioned you went to Wrigley a lot and stuff, and that's an experience I never really went to a lot of games when I was young, and still don't really get to now. Because it's ironic because of the big sports fan I am. I'm sitting around all this memorabilia here. There's more over there. I even have an office next door that's got tons of memorabilia in it. But I grew up ironically in a non-sports family. I am the only person in my entire family who really indulges in sports like that. My dad does because I'm interested in it. My dad gets involved in stuff like that. But other than that, that's really it. It's just me.
I've got a bunch of sports people in my family, but I'm the only one who is as obsessed with sports like I am. So Jim Tebow says UFC or more baseball. We'll go with some UFC talk, Jim Tebow. We will certainly get to some UFC. We do have so Wyatt, are you a UFC guy at all?
That's another one. Baseball and UFC are my two weak links. I watch them, of course. But not as following as I should be.
So did you see any of the fights last weekend, the free UFC that they had on ESPN at all?
I did not. Last weekend I was working like a mad dog.
Right. Yeah. All right. So Jordan Leavitt was fighting Mat Winan last week and knocked him out with a body slam. So he picks him up.
That I know what you're talking about. I saw the highlights. Yes.
And slams him down and knocks him out.
That's got
to be the coolest way to knock someone out, right? I've seen all sorts of great knockouts, but to say you knock somebody out when you body slammed them has got to be the coolest way to knock somebody out.
For sure. I couldn't agree with you more. And now I know what you're talking about because I didn't get to watch the fights, but I watch all the highlights and stuff after. But yes, I mean, as soon as you mentioned the body slam, it came right to me. Yes, I saw the highlights. That it was crazy.
Michael Buckheister says, best knockout ever. Mike Buckheister is still on dad duty, having to babysit, so he's not able to join us tonight, but he is definitely live in the chat. Look, I seen some knockouts, man. Like, so I don't know if you saw the video, but a couple weeks ago I was showing it to everybody because it was just the craziest thing I ever seen. But this guy just hit another man square in the face with a spinning back kick to knock him out. And that might have been the most brutal knockout I've ever seen. I mean, it sounded like when his foot met his face, like he cracked his skull in 7 different places. And I was like, man, I would still, like right now, that happened like 2.5 weeks ago. Right now, I would still be laying on the mat and they would still be trying to wake me up.
Rolling around, like eyes crossed. You still see the birds twirling around, trying to figure out, oh my gosh.
There is no way I would have made it through that, but
it's like that scene from The Longest Yard where he's knocked on the ground. He's like, I got a pet bird. His name's Ronnie. Tell Ronnie you got knocked out.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are definitely more brutal knockouts out there. Like that spinning back kick was one of them. I've seen a couple where guys get hit with like elbows and stuff like that. I've seen some vicious knockouts.
The knee is what's crazy to me. How guys first off, like I can't get my knee more than like if I jump and lift my knee, we're talking like 4 feet at the most in the air, and there is no power to it whatsoever. I have no clue how these guys get their knee up as high as they do and still bring that much power to where you can make someone unconscious. It has always puzzled me how they do that.
Right. And so Jim Tebow says UFC would be popular if there wasn't pay-per-views.
I 100%
They could have fights every
agree.
week and do it on ESPN just like football. So
yes,
look, I get why there are pay-per-views is because people pay to see it. But they also do have free stuff on ESPN every week. The prelims are always on ESPN. You see good fights. You get to see the up-and-comers and all of that other good stuff, which is why I get so excited for UFC because – even when you're just watching the prelims, like I get to see guys that most people aren't talking about, and that's what I like about the sport. I like the up and comers, I like the upsets, and then you do get some like last week. I mean, we had a bunch of good fights, and it was a free pay-per-view. That was just they do one of those a month, so they do have some free stuff, but the fights that we saw last week were really good. One of them I want to get to here was OSP and Jamal Hill. OSP, if OSP could actually remember that he's in a fight after he gets in the cage, he could have been one of the most dominant fighters of all time. But he just seems to lose interest once he starts getting touched.
Yeah, I feel like the one for me is really John Jones. I feel like if John Jones could stop roiding out and could stop just doing the crazy stuff that gets him the suspensions, the fines, and all that stuff, I think he'd have a shot of being the GOAT. I mean, I know that's like a little far-fetched to say.
He's still one of the GOATs. John Jones is an absolute stud. John Jones is right up there for me with George St. Pierre, which George St. Pierre is the reason why I got into UFC. I loved watching that guy fight. But he's right up there with him. He's right up there with Anderson Silva. And then there's some heavyweights that make their name up there. Like you start thinking about some of the older guys when it comes to that stuff. But OSP, again, he gets touched, and he's in this fight with Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill's 7-0 heading into this fight. He's now 8-0 because he just dominates OSP in this fight. And OSP looked like he didn't even want to be in there after halfway through the first round. So I just wish that OSP would look interested, but I think that OSP is done in the UFC because especially Dana White does not take kindly to putting you in a match and then you not performing. And when you look like you are just disinterested in even being in the ring, that's a whole different animal for Dana White. So I think OSP is done in the UFC.
So what I got to ask you, man, so what do you think about guys like Logan Paul and Jake Paul coming into fighting like they do? Because I will say I watched those fights, and I have my opinions on them for sure. I don't know. I just
DJ Garcia says GSP was good early on, then he turned into a leg humper.
No, but what do you think, especially like them challenging Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, arguably two guys who could be considered a GOAT? Well, I would say Mayweather is a GOAT, and then McGregor, if he's not there, he's almost there. What do you think about guys that are YouTubers just considering themselves all of a sudden fighters and getting these main card fights?
So, and you're talking about Logan Paul here. And Logan Paul, he's been, to his credit, I think it's been about 5 or 6 years now. He's actually been training as a boxer. But I don't know why Floyd Mayweather's giving this guy the time of day. I don't know why he didn't take the route that Conor McGregor took and said, look, who the fuck are you? And, just not give him the time of day. To me, I love guys like Conor McGregor. I like Floyd Mayweather. I like the showboats. I like the guys who can talk and then back it up. And Conor McGregor is definitely that. Floyd Mayweather is definitely that. And I like those guys. But Floyd Mayweather's in a no-win scenario here. If you beat Logan Paul, people are going to be like, so what? It was Logan Paul.
Yeah, you beat a YouTuber. Congratulations.
If you lose to Logan Paul, you are the laughing stock of boxing forever.
Well, and that's what I never really understood, even with the McGregor fight, too, with Mayweather, was you've got this amazing record.
Yeah.
And why would you want to chance that -1? Like, why would you want to do that?
That one I understood because of the payday. The payday on that one was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, I think they each got some like $4 or $5 million out of it. Like, it was absolutely insane. For $4 or $5 million, I would have went in there and let him kick my ass. Like, just
Would you fight Tyson for $4 or $5 million?
Man, I think I'd be eating through a straw if I fought Tyson.
Dude,
that guy is ridiculous.
Like, he 100% was holding back on Jones in that fight as well.
Yeah.
That whole weekend, that was a weekend I did watch, and that whole weekend was just bizarre. Like, there were times where Tyson would swing in, and you could tell he was just kind of laying up as he was getting close because he couldn't hit Jones too hard. He would have killed the guy. I mean, everybody saw it. I mean, here's the deal. When they put the rule on that fight, there's no knockouts. They're not protecting Mike Tyson. Okay,
right.
Let's take a realization of what's going on here. They're not going to protect Mike Tyson from being knocked out. That's not what they're worried about. Mike Tyson's lethal weapon hands killing a man. That's what they're worried about.
100+ million is what they made off of that fight. Not even.
Oh, it was crazy. The Mayweather and McGregor fight.
For $100 million, I'll take my chances, man. Look, for $100 million, if somebody swings at me, you could miss, and I'm still gonna fall down like you hit me, and I'm gonna collect my money and leave the ring. Like,
exactly. The loser still gets like 50% of what the winner gets. So I'm perfectly fine. Here's the deal: I'll take one punch from Tyson, fall down, swirl around, act like I'm knocked out. And I'll take my 50 mil, and I'm talking about like a shoulder shot. Okay, I'm gonna like get hit in the shoulder and fall down and be like, oh, I'm knocked out. My shoulder hit my jaw here and knocked me out. And I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna take my 50 mil and go home. Okay.
All right, so we've got UFC 256 this Saturday. And one of the couple of the things I want to get into, I know you're not really a UFC guy, but we did tell the people we were going to pick some fights here. So if you want to jump in, feel free. We could certainly, you can make some picks and see how you do.
Sure.
So with UFC 256 coming up, it's Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno is the main event. And couple of things about all of these fights here. One is the Tony Ferguson fight. Tony Ferguson coming off of a bad loss. I think he really needs this victory here. I feel like Tony Ferguson, he feels anyway that he was a big part of UFC coming back so early. He was a big proponent to getting them back throughout this whole COVID thing and helping them make money. And then he took that bad loss, and I kind of felt for him in that bad loss because he was one of those guys where his opponent changed twice, the venue changed like 2 or 3 times, but he still stuck in it and still took the fight, but ended up taking the loss. He's going to go up against Charles Oliveira here. I'm going to go ahead and take Ferguson in this fight. I think he's going to be locked in. I think he really wants this victory. And so I'm going Ferguson, and I'm gonna say he finishes him. This isn't even gonna get to a judge's decision here.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of jump off that one with you as well. All of Ferguson's wins, 50% of them have come from knockout or TKO. So he's also got a longer reach as well. So I'm going to run with you on that one as well.
Right. And then we've got a very good women's strawweight bout. Mackenzie Dern, 9-1. She's out of Brazil versus another Brazilian, Verna Jandaroba. She is 16-1. Both of them are very, very good orthodox fighters. Mackenzie Dern is more of a a ground and pound type of fighter as opposed to just getting in there and standing up. She's gonna try to take this to the ground. Jandaroba has very good takedown defense, but I think if Dern takes her to the ground, she could be in trouble. So I'm picking Jandaroba in this one, and it's probably. I'm going to say it goes to a draw, though. Not a draw, but a judge's decision. But I'm going to take Dern in this one.
No, yeah. And whenever we look at Dern here, last fight was a win as well as Verna as well. So it's going to be a great match like you were talking about. I'm going to agree with you on that, though. I'm going to take Dern.
All right. And then get into here, you got, a lot of people forget about this guy in the heavyweight division. But Junior Dos Santos is a former heavyweight champion, and he is no joke. But he is going up against a guy who is 6-0 and is trying to make a name for himself, and Cyril Gane. And Cyril Gane is an absolute stud. He is a striker. He hits with a ton of power. I've seen him hit a lot of flying knees. And so he, I'd like to say he takes care of business here, but Junior Dos Santos is a veteran, and he is not looking to let some kid come in and make a name off of him. I'm going to go with Junior Dos Santos here. I'm going to say Junior Dos Santos gives Gane his first loss and knocks him out.
And I'm gonna go with Gane on this one. 6-0. Like you said, the inexperience versus the experience, 100%. It's definitely there. But when you look at it, Gane has a 4-inch reach on it, and that is huge in the world of fighting. So I feel like Dos Santos is not even going to be able to get close to him, and the youngster is going to take over the vet.
Yep. And then in the prelims we have a another female strawweight bout where we've got Tisha Torres. Sam Hughes is stepping in to take this fight after Tisha Torres' opponent caught COVID. So it always is tough for me to have a fighter go up against a brand new opponent right before the fight. You don't have time to game plan. I always think that it leans towards the person who took the fight because they know who they're fighting, and their opponent didn't know who they were fighting until right before the fight. Man, I did this last week, and I took the fighter who took on 3 different opponents, and it bit me in the butt. So in this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to learn my lesson. I'm going to take Tisha Torres in this one. Tisha Torres is a very good up-and-comer. She really, does very, very well when she is hitting her strikes. She swings so hard, man. And I think that Tisha Torres is going to finish Sam Hughes with a TKO.
No, and I like the way you said that too. Torres just so powerful with her hits. It's gonna be hard to bet against her. And what did you say about last time you picked the 3-win fight or something?
Yeah, so last week it was God, I can't even remember the name of the fight now. But last week there was a fighter who took a match, and then that match his opponent had to bow out for injury concerns. So then somebody else stepped up. That person ended up catching COVID, and so somebody else stepped up right before the fight.
At that point, you just got to cancel it.
Yeah, and he ends up losing that fight too. So I think Tisha holds her ground here, though.
No, absolutely.
And then the main event of the evening is Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Now, 3 weeks ago, both of these guys fought. Brandon Moreno looked very impressive, as did Figueiredo. Brandon Moreno is very, very dangerous opponent for Figueiredo. Figueiredo took this fight on, and I think he got goaded into it by Moreno. Moreno called him out in his post-fight interview, said he was coming for him, and Figueiredo took the bait and is putting his title on the line, flyweight title. I think that Brandon Moreno is going to be the guy that takes it from Figueiredo. I think that he is going to I think he is going to out-wrestle him. I think he's going to outstrike him. It may come down to a decision. I'm not sure if he'll finish Figueiredo, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. And if it goes to a decision, I just think that Moreno is going to take it to Figueiredo. And I think Figueiredo made a mistake by taking this fight so quick.
See, and I'm going to take the reigning champ. He's 19-1, only just one. Oh, 21. Excuse me, 20-1 coming into this fight. Yeah, I'm taking the reigning champ.
Yeah, I just think that he just went too fast. And when he took this fight, I mean, typically you take 2 to 3 months in between fights. He's going 3 weeks later, and Moreno's fight ended so quick in the last 3 weeks ago in their last thing. So I am going to go with Moreno here as Hoffy chimes in and says Figueiredo has too much power in the right. Combs stick to riding the bench.
Coming after your name, Combs.
Hoffy, that's my boy. That's my partner from Triple Shot Sports. But Hoffy, I'm gonna tell you this: I'm gonna be watching that fight tomorrow, and when Moreno takes that belt, I'm gonna text you, and then I'm gonna put your ass on the bench. All right, Wyatt. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, man. Thanks for talking some baseball with me, some UFC with me. It was a little bit hairy there at the beginning when I'm talking by myself and not having anybody to respond to me. So I appreciate you hopping in last moment, and I appreciate it. We will be seeing you a lot more here on the Man Hour. I know we plan on having you come back on Monday for a little bit, and man, I'm excited for things to come. So thanks for joining, and you got anything you want to tell the people?
Oh, come on, Combs. You know what it's gonna be. Come on, man. You know what it is. Let me get it here. Hold on now.
Oh, sorry, we had to let you go, and thank you for joining the show, Wyatt. And that is all the time we have here for the Man Hour. Make sure that you guys join us on YouTube, on the Facebook page, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and on Big X Radio on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Check us out. Have a great night.